Hey folks, welcome back to the Gotham Database Podcast. How you doing out there? Just wanted to do a quick little update. The DC Kickstarter for Mayfair's DC Heroes um, RPG. I couldn't think of the term there. RPG is just about done and ready to go. So we should be seeing it launching itself, the 40th anniversary edition. And as this recording, it's got 51 hours to go. And then hopefully you've pledged and you should get your rewards sometime by October 2025. I know it's a long way off, practically a year for some of these things, but I think it's well worth the wait, especially if you want a nice, crisp, clean copy of these books, these modules, the dice, and all the other stretch goals that they did, especially like Batman the Role Playing Game, the third edition, all the slip cases. I don't know how much you pledged, but if you pledged anything, then you should have a good time. I threw some money in for the Kickstarter to help support it. I didn't want anything from the Kickstarter because I basically have almost all this stuff. And as far as new, I don't think I needed it new. But I wanted to make sure other people got the stuff that they wanted. So there's the thing there. So hopefully you've done that and check that out. As far as DC news, they had an editorial this weekend about Final Night, which is DC. They're calling it DC Universe's disaster movie, and the premise of Final Night was a pretty interesting comic. An alien known as the Sun Eater has traveled through the cosmos, feeding on the stars. Now it's set its sights on Earth's sun. The massive creature blankets the sun, sending the Earth into external night. Temperatures drop and snowstorms begin to ravage the planet. Fearing that the end is near, humanity begins to panic, causing rioting and destruction in the streets. What else is new when there's panic? Everybody riots and destroys everything. This is the one problem the superheroes can't punch their way out of. They're up against a ticking clock as the stakes couldn't be bigger because once the Sun Eater finishes his feast, there won't be a planet left to protect. Can the heroes and the villains of Earth come together to save the sun? Or has this planet entered its final night? It is actually, I remember reading this comic and it was really good. It was written by Karl Kesel, one of the most prominent writers in DC from the 90s. He was one of the architects of the Death and the Return of Superman saga. So check out Final Night on the DC Universe app. If you have the app, like I do, I have the DC Universe app. I was one of the beta people that tested it when it first came out, back when they actually had those various TV shows on it before it just became a comics only app. It's well worth it, honestly. And I think by getting that, I get to read all the comics from the past, such as Final Night here, which I have read, but it's just interesting because I like apocalyptic survival movies, and this is kind of falls under the spectrum of survival and apocalyptic in a sense. It also reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode where they kept getting further, where it started out they were getting closer and closer to the sun and burning up, but meanwhile it was really just a dream, and they were actually getting further and further away from the sun, and it was becoming colder and snowy outside and everything. So it reminds me a little bit of that. If you want to check it out, go to the app and give it a read. It's a pretty decent read. It starts off a little slow, but then it starts to pick up as you get into the comics, as you're looking into each of the lives of the superhero and how they're handling the situation. So it's basically a 90s era DC Universe comic, so be warned when you read that. The pacing's different. A lot of pacing has changed over the years when it comes to comics. Some of them are a little bit more quick these days because of people's short attention span. And I'm not making fun of anybody. I've noticed that people now have shorter attention spans. Even looking at TV shows from the 80s and the 90s had a slower pace as opposed to TV shows that were more current. I was watching a couple shows from the 90s that I loved when I was younger, and the pacing was just like, I was like, come on, come on. It was just a slow burn, but that's how the TV shows were back then. Final Night is basically an overlooked DC Universe storyline that aged remarkably well. With humanity on the verge of extinction, the heroes and the villains of the world are forced to put aside their differences and come together. Redemption is a heavy theme of this story, and some of DC's villains come forward to help save the planet, including one heroic sacrifice that will probably tug at your heartstrings if you're reading this. Winter may seem cold, but the final night shows us that things could always be worse. As the weather keeps you indoors this winter, let the final night entertain you as you pass the time away by the fireplace, curled under a warm blanket, drinking your hot cocoa or tea. Pick up the graphic novel. I believe it's a Final Night graphic novel that you can pick up on Amazon. If not, just go right to the app or one of those various places online that I can't give you a link for. You could probably grab it from there, and you'll have a good time. Uh, Superman does have a little bit of a mullet going on because this is the 90s. Superman had that mullet going on, just to be warned. Wonder Woman had the big poofy hair. And I don't know. I like the artwork from the 90s. It always looked good. I know a lot of people said the artwork of the 90s was the violence and boobs era, but I don't know. Whatever. Tell me what you think. There's always comment on Spotify and my blog, gotham-database.com. You can contact us here at the Gotham Database just by going to gothamdatabase@gmail.com is what you can send your email to, and I'll answer any questions you have. So with that said, I'm going to head out. God bless and good night to everybody.